Welcome to Synchronicity. Podcast still going on. Also, for those who are seeing this, you probably don't have this issue, but apparently it's not, Synchronicity is not showing up for everyone in their podcast apps. I don't know why. It's just something that happens. So if that's happening to you, I don't know what to say, but it's there for those who want to find it. My guests this week, Sean and Cass, my dear friends from the Very Ape Podcast. Go check them out on every platform. Before I get started with this episode, big shout out to my guys at Ned, helloned.com. Use the code SYNC, S-Y-N-C at checkout. You get 15% off everything you order. They just sent me a huge gift bag care package of all their new stuff. I'm looking forward to trying some of it out. I recommend the full spectrum CBD hemp oil. Weed is legal now. It's only a matter of time before the Ned guys sell weed, right? Gotta be. They're super cool. Go check them out. helloned.com. Use the code SYNC, S-Y-N-C at checkout, and have a good time. This episode, super fun. We talk a lot about crypto, creating reality, just kind of shooting the shit. But if you know Sean and Cass, you know how these conversations tend to go. We're having a good time. We're cracking the code of financial independence. Who doesn't care about that, right? It's fun times. No vaccine talk. That's fun. I think we maybe mentioned it once. A reminder, whatever your preferences are related to vaccine or anything else, just be tolerant. That's all. What else? Nothing. This show is mainly taking place 2 times a month now. So if you want extra stuff, go to the Patreon. That's where everything is going on. We mentioned it a few times in here. It's the community is getting a little more interwoven over in the Discord and the Patreon. So if you really want to keep continuing this fun times, that's where to go. That's patreon.com/synchronicity. It's good stuff. This is a 2-part conversation. The second part of this conversation will be available on the Very Ape Podcast. There'll be links to that. Go check it out. That was also a good continuation of what's going on. We're just going to be having fun, guys. That's kind of the commitment for this show and everything else that I'm going to be doing. Fun times. I think that makes sense, right? That's what people want. Fun times. Yeah. We'll talk about crazy shit too, but fun times. All right, that's it for this intro. Without further ado, here are my dear friends, Sean and Cass.
Oh man, I don't know. If when I get up here, it feels like, oh, we were here last week, but it's usually like 4 months. So
every time I come up here, we have such a good time. I'm like, we're gonna be there next week,
Yeah.
and then it's like 4 months go by.
It's hard.
It's the drive home that gets us. The drive home is when we're like, yo, Noah lives far away. What the fuck? Getting up here is fine. We're usually buzzing.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are almost always welcome to spend the night here.
Oh, yeah.
Rarely here at nights. It's like, it's a great place to hang. Like, it's a cool place, like, over a few days, too, like, the surrounding areas. It's pretty cool. And everything opens up now, like, all the produce and the markets and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty sweet. I gotta say, it's like a weird little wild. Also, I know you guys have a car. The train is insanely convenient, even if you're in Brooklyn. Like, it's just, like, you do not have to have your wits about you to get back and forth, which, to me,
that's pretty nice.
is a
Very
nice selling
convenient.
point. Yeah.
I'm going to spark this foot long.
I know. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I mean, so you're crypto heads now? You're on the record?
That's why we're up here, yeah.
Yeah, before we're like, we could do a podcast. We're like, all right, show me how to do a VPN. Show me how to swap some stuff.
Asscoin.
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 I can't buy Asscoin fast enough because I don't have it all set up. So I'm just getting to the place where hopefully I can buy some Asscoin.
These are real sentences, which is true. It sounds like a joke, but you actually couldn't buy Asscoin fast enough.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm having a problem buying the Asscoin. It's a real thing.
We were sold.
Australian Service Shepherd.
Hmm.
We were talking about a lot of this stuff before too. Like, there's some clear shift in how people are viewing crypto and like money stuff now, even if it was the stock stuff from before.
Yeah.
Where it's just palpable. It's like some weird. I'm sure Uranus is like astrologically involved somehow, but like,
Ooh, that would be.
there's
an
some
interesting thing to look into.
explanation because it's the weirdest. Uranus is in Taurus now, I think, but it's like the weirdest bending of how money has worked in our lives. Like I don't ever remember this. Like ever, even in 2017 when a lot of people were like making it. It was such a small group of people. You still sounded kind of like a lunatic. Now people are like Doge and Bitcoin and Ethereum and all of these things are like commonplace for a lot of people. So like something shifted and it's like,
I mean,
it's nice to see.
We sat down with you, I don't know, a few years ago now, and you gave me the whole pitch. And I was like, dude, I'm sold, but it's just too difficult for me to buy this shit.
It was probably 2015.
And because it's too difficult for me to buy this stuff, I'm not getting involved because I understand that like most people, their level of difficulty is comparable to mine. And so if it's too difficult to me, it's too difficult for other people. But when it started going to expanding and becoming easier, I was like, all right, it's time.
But what does that tell you? If you're saying everyone is like you and it's too difficult, if you do the thing that's a little more difficult than most people, you're in before them.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm doing now, trying to download VPNs and
this is
all
why
this shit.
I feel like this is like it's going to be taken completely out of context, but it's a Ponzi. Everything is a Ponzi. The whole of life is essentially a Ponzi. You're investing in this thing that like everyone else invests in, so it has like meaning or, you know, some worth or value to you. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It just sounds bad because based on like economic principles, like that's not how things should work. It's like there's, you know, the wizard isn't really there. There's a man behind the curtain. It's like it's not really the way it's supposed to be. But I think it's becoming democratized that like there's enough of a shift in consciousness. Like I was saying it before too to you guys, like in 2 years, we're all going to know at least a few people independently who made like a lot from
millions.
Just this stuff. Millions at least, like potentially even like, you know, tens and hundreds of millions. Wow. That should have a profound effect on society as a whole because you're going to have these like pods of people. Not everyone who makes a lot of money is going to give it away to their friends or like, you know, build things that but if like 10%, 5%, which is a large amount, do some level of that, I think it's going to shift like how this stuff works and like how people make money, how they receive it, these NFTs, like all this stuff. Like it sounds like buzzwords and jokes, which is why I think these joke coins find inherent value and like they work because like people are getting the joke is like money is kind of a joke. So let's actually literally make it a joke and then see how people react.
Just be looser about it. And like for us, this literally, at least very much for me, because Cass has been dabbling around with our money without me really even knowing about it, because I can't handle it because it feels tight and it's just like feels like, yo, we're actually in a lot of financial insecurity right now.
You got 50 grand in ass coin. Good luck.
But we took some soma brew the other day, or what we think is soma, which is Syrian rue and mushrooms, and blew our heads off. And my intention going into it was to eradicate any self-limiting, self-defeating perceptions. And it figures we come out of this mushroom thing, and that week people, like, we're just hanging out with our friends, and all of a sudden everyone's talking about this, and they're saying, I put 2,500 and I made 100,000. Dudes that used to carry a heavy chip on their shoulder feel free now.
Isn't it cool?
And I'm like, I want in on that. So it really took the mushroom to help me be open to it. And then I did a ketamine journey the other night, and I was in a K-hole just kind of laughing about all this. Like, I was so in the higher realms, I just understood. I was in on the joke for the first time. And I'm like, oh, we're going to be fine. This is our path to financial freedom. Not waiting for commercials, not waiting for, a movie to hit or this or that. Like, really just taking it fucking by the balls and doing something.
Well, and I know we want to build something bigger than ourselves. So, like, I'm kind of putting in the hands of the stars and our capacity to maybe understand the market or get the right tips at the right time.
You just got to know that you've already kind of made it and then let it play out. It's like a very uncomfortable position to find yourself in it, but it is what we're doing in life. Like people who find themselves successful at this or that or making it or whatever, like they always had a vague notion that was going to happen. It could have been very vague and it could have been like a big surprise in their lives, but like that's a key determinant on like whether someone is viewed as or views themselves as successful. The money stuff, I think just there's so much shit we have to like deprogram that we don't even know is there. Like, you don't know how you're going to react until you lose $10,000 because someone scammed you. Like, not because like they're like, send it, I'll send you double, but like because you thought you were investing in a project that was worth something.
Yeah.
This has happened to me 3 times in the past, 8 months. Each time I learn, obviously not enough to get scammed again, but like that it doesn't have to have the same kind of emotional resonant impact.
Yeah.
And that can be a very positive thing. And you can apply that to most things in your life if you get the proper perspective. And then it's just like figuring out what you like and your tolerance for like, risk or reward or how you view like debt or lack or abundance. Like, it's pretty good. As far as ways to go of like learning this seems to be most people's preferred method. I think we move ourselves through these things because, like, I don't know, it seems cooler than like working fucking as a kid for 40 hours a week until you're like 50 to like for $12
Well,
or
I love what you were saying about like have fun with it. The people in your community that you're finding are doing the most successful are the people who are like, they're smart, but they're not taking it super seriously. They're kind of going with some instincts and turning $200 into, $10,000. That's the kind of financial freedom that I pray for my friends. You know, and I think that feeling like, oh, well, I can't afford to invest, or if I did invest, I would like someone else could invest 10,000. I can only invest 200. It's like, yeah, I guess that's true, but that doesn't mean it's a reason not to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think I forget that as I've scaled up and made larger position sizes. Like I used to put I remember just like putting $500 on something. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Now, if I don't put at least 3 to 5 ether, which is anywhere from like $600 to like $10,000 on something, I'm like, ugh, what am I even doing it for?
You can't catch the buzz.
It's not even the buzz. It's just like, I know that if this coin goes up 2 to 3 times, I make a chunk. Whereas if I'm like playing something that's smaller, I don't need as much to be like, oh, it can go up 10 times, like Askcoin.
Yeah.
It seems like a large position to take in Askcoin. It's like a few $1,000s, double that, but like, I don't know.
I think it's smart.
But you're like, I'm buying something for 15 cents or whatever, and I can afford maybe to put 3,000 in this. And if I only put 300 and it goes up 20 times, I'm gonna be like, if that was 3,000, that would be, you can
60, afford everything. That's what you learn. I've spent like $5,000-$6,000, and I'm not rich. Like I know people. Like I would say in my server, I would guess I'm probably like maybe not even in the top 20 of people who have like made. I'm not like the lowest, but like there are people who've made a lot, and independent of the server, from tips in the server, all of these things, and you just gotta play the game. You buy things that you think might be worthwhile.
Yeah.
You learn. You understand, and you should just have fun with. It's more fun to be able to lose money and laugh about it than like make a lot and be like, I'm so cool, I made so much money.
Yeah.
Like it's you'll do both.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like such a gauntlet. And part of the reason I think I wasn't comfortable going in before was I was like, this is one of those things, once I put my money in, I'm never going to want to take it out, because if it's high, I'm going to be like, let's keep it going.
It's more fun. What I learned with this, and I think it's just a good money principle, is you create the vacuums. Like spend the money that you get and it'll come back, especially in markets like this. Like every time I pull money out, it gets replenished. Every time I hold on to it a little bit more to try to like make that into more, then it kind of like levels off and contracts a little bit. I've just noticed that for myself. But like if you cash out, it doesn't have to be a ton. I've been pulling out like, $8,000 to $10,000 at a time, like anywhere from like 2 to 4 weeks. Just which part of my portfolio is like not the most, but it's not nothing. That's a really good feeling.
Yeah.
Knowing that like you're covering your stuff, you've realized your gains, you still have enough in that if stuff continues to go well and like you make the right trades or you're in the right coins, you have a real chance of like, getting through next year.
Yeah.
5 years, 10 years. Oh, I have enough money now that like my whole idea of how much money I would ever have in my life has changed. Like that's how much of that can you accommodate? Like how much that are you planning for? I also think there's a direct correlation between that. Like what are you going to do when you withdraw $100,000. How are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to pay taxes? Are you going to do a loan? Like, how are you going to do all this stuff? Have those plans. It'll be easier to kind of watch that fit the narrative, get set up. You know, if you find it difficult at first to like get money in or out, good. Work through the kinks. Figure out that if you fucking make, you know, a shitload of money, how do you actually get it into your bank account? What are you going to do? What levels do you want to do that at?
Yeah, I think we're like Sean was saying with doing that big psychedelic trip last week, we're just at this place where we're like, we want to do it all. Like we want to
It's fun.
Explore it all, experience it all.
You can't fuck up.
Yeah, we started a band. We're like healing relationships. We're open to stuff that like I used to have to tune out because, and I see this now that we're into it and we're talking about it on our Discord. It actually triggers some people, which surprised me at first, but in a way I get it because I've seen it when I was taking big risks making films. And other people that I thought would be good at making films were like, whoa, what are you doing? You're just spending all your money making a film every year? That's crazy. Because they're in their tight place of comfort and they can't imagine somebody living the way I am. And I think it has to do with like a FOMO jealousy thing, you know, where it's like this comes up and people are like, oh, I don't want to think about it. They don't want to think about their finances. They don't want to think about, you know, possibly getting left out or possibly, you know, that they fucked up. So, you know.
Oh, yeah. I was on the Bitcoin tip like 5 years before I even met Noah, where I was like, that I remember saying, like, that's a penny stock I'd invest in. I know it's not technically a penny stock, but it's that kind of energy.
It was worth nothing then. Yeah, I mean, there's infinite of these things. I think it's just easier to realize them now because the medium of the computers that we're like using, the digital, it's just easy. It's like buttons, it's clicking, it's understanding this goes there. Like I know I've definitely been on ketamine at times doing some of this stuff and just being like, this is insane. Like make me money. Like it doesn't make sense. It's insane. Like if you looked up from like a bird's eye view how people are like accumulating resources and like wealth, like it's ridiculous. It's like it's like it's silly.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's great when you understand that that actually is like it is a fair opportunity. Like there's no. It's easier, of course, like anything, if you have capital to go in and like risk, and you're not going to be like ruined or like screwed. But like for the most part, you know, you're fine. Like you're not. Also, the financial safety net that most people kind of think in their heads exist or that they could fall through, like, no, it doesn't.
I know.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, in this country, it takes a lot.
I have kids, like, you don't, like, people get mad about how that doesn't happen. Like, you may feel bad, like, if you're on welfare and unemployment, don't.
Yeah.
Like, don't.
Yeah.
Like, you're good. You're okay. It's all right. It's fine. And then, like, try to find the balance of appreciating, like, a really wealthy person who's accumulated wealth through ingenuity or, like, whatever. Appreciate what they've done and appreciate there are people who have been deprived of that opportunity because of circumstances and lack of privilege. Just, like, understand the perspectives. I think what a lot of people do, and this is why I think I pull away from some of, like, the socialist ideas just a little bit, is, like, don't feel like there's an oppressed people. Recognize, witness that that's going on. Don't deny it. Don't be like, no one's depressed. But like, don't reinforce it as an idea, because then you're actively helping to create that situation. You're putting consciousness into an idea where people are oppressed. Right. The democratization of like financial freedom or independence is now closer than it's been in any permutation since recorded history. I mean, I don't know, people, there's probably native tribes, you know, bartering and fucking shamanic drinks and stuff. That's great. But like for like global macro situations, that's just kind of like we're in unprecedented, uncharted waters. Like, enjoy it. Don't be bitter, people. It's just a good principle. Don't get mad if people are doing well, or like, you know, like I had plenty of opportunities to be mad at all. There's people in my server who like, I'm like, your project is vaporware. It doesn't do anything, because it doesn't. Yeah. So far, this guy and other people have determined that it will. And that's their speculative position. The second I dropped, like, actually being like, this is useless, it doesn't do anything, like, it's like a much lighter, like, no one cares. Like, I'm glad this guy made money. I've come to that conclusion too. Like, the best thing you can do in this market, even with Bitcoin, which is like a pretty safe thing, don't buy into any of these narratives of what coin is the best and why. You can know about the fundamentals. You can understand why something should go up in value, like a lot of these people with Pirate Chain did. But like, they're magic beans. It's all magic beans. These magic beans may do this thing. These magic beans but it's all magic beans. Like, just let it go. Like, it doesn't matter. That it'll be easier to sell something. You just be like, oh, these magic beans are worth that much magic beans? Okay, I'll sell them for that. Like, it's way easier than being like, well, I'm holding the golden ticket. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's that clinging, I feel like, that starts to send you on that spiral. You know, I feel like what you're talking about is just pulling the emotion out of the whole process, and it's much more fun when it's not like,
keep it positive emotions. Yeah. And the gauge of that is not when you're making a trade if it feels good, which is a good thing to have too. But like when you lose money or it doesn't work out, how hard do you take it? If you take it like really bad, then you do not do that trade without emotion. It's not like only when it goes up, you're just like, oh yeah, pretty good. It's like when shit hits the fan, when you realize, oh, you done fucked up. Like, how does that sting you? Yeah. Because the easier you can get over that, like, it doesn't even matter if you lose. That's why, like, some people lose all of their money. And say what you want about Donald Trump. Like, obviously, he's a lunatic. But, like, he lost all his money for real, multiple times. Like, he, you know what I mean? He may have parlayed whatever you think is like bullshit, but he lost it all. Yeah. And it didn't matter. He knew he was going to make more. Yeah. That's actually how it works. If you just get that resiliency muscle of like, I'm going to do it. It's going to be worth more than when I bought it. I just got to like hold on. You'd be good.
I feel like, at least we've been told astrologically for both of us, like our work here is to be done. We learn the most through relationships. And the same principle applies because we'll see it all the time when somebody has that desperation about finding a partner. You're going to get the fucking opposite. You're not. But when someone's kind of just like more positive and loving and being themselves more, they'll attract. It's an
attractive force.
Yeah, it's a very attractive force.
Money is like a partner. Money is like a romantic sexual relationship. It really is, and you have to learn how to be cool in those situations if you want to attract the caliber or certain person or money you want into your life. The first thing that you have to do is feel that like you can have that. Mm-hmm. It's like there are people out there who will look at like a beautiful person and just be like, oh, I could never out of my league. I could never. Yeah. I know a lot of people who I associate with don't really think like that. They don't link, oh, I could never. They don't think like that. They're like, of course I could. Why couldn't I? Like, what
I'm the best thing ever.
Yeah. So, like, that mentality, if you can apply it to money, like, why couldn't I have $1 billion? Now, if you think it's bad, there are some people who may think it's bad to be beautiful. You won't be taken as seriously, or people are just going to focus on your looks, and you know, people like you for reasons that are. You could think about that about money. Yeah. Be like, so just like pull all that shit out of it and just be like, all right, I am the type of person who made a shitload of money on Asscoin or Bitcoin. And like, you'll know if you believe it and just be comfortable where you are. Sometimes it feels like a lock, like, wow, that was just a winner. Yeah. And sometimes it feels like, I don't know. And just like,
or like I made an ass out of myself by losing, $5 grand on Asscoin.
No, that ain't gonna happen.
To me, the idea of me telling people I lost $5-6 grand on Asscoin is worth the story.
Definitely.
Yeah. If I lost $200 on Asscoin, who cares?
It's not even a story.
Whatever. Don't even tell people. But if you lose a lot of money on Asscoin,
go big or go home.
I like that as a general rule for things.
Remember when, like, our relationship with money, and I think I might have even taught Cass this, like, because I never did the, like, small potatoes for some reason. Right as soon as I got involved with my career, I was involved with budgets, and, like, all of a sudden I had, like, large sums of money to move around and figure out how to make more money off of whatever. So I was always just, like, very, very financially stable. My parents didn't have any money. I did not like that feeling. Growing up, like every month there was a conversation in my house about, we can't pay the mortgage. I'm like, why the fuck do I need to know about this at 9 years old?
Bring all that stress.
Yeah. So I brought it, but for some reason in my adult life, money came so easy to me, to the point where I really just started to trust it and like flirt with the universe and seduce money out of it. And I remember once, like, we had made 2 movies, Cam Girls and Florida Man, back to back. And we thought we were rolling, and we didn't really pay attention to our finances. Cass pulls up our accounts, and it's like we got this month's rent covered, but that's it. And that was the first time in my adult life that it was like,
I know that feeling.
whoa. And we literally, we just held a ritual. We just started praying. We're like, all right, come on, universe. Like, we just fucking put our heart and soul and all of our finances into our two favorite projects we've done. And we prayed for just the opportunity to come to us. And
sure enough,
it came, but it doesn't come without some action. It was like the prayers were giving us permission to have the idea to get the money. And the next day we were literally like, camming is a huge industry. There's money flying around like fucking crazy. Let's call one of these campsites and see if they'll sponsor us putting this film out for free. And they did. And we lived off that money for like 2 years. And it was like literally answering our prayers by just releasing me.
Yeah, and you're opening up to the... I mean, I think there's also sometimes this like perceived altruism that comes by not engaging with like a system that objectively and subjectively for most people is fucked up. Like capitalism isn't done like... I don't think there's something inherently wrong with capitalism per se, but whatever permutation has evolved in it in the West, it's not great.
Yeah.
So like there's this idea that like if you don't think about it or don't engage with it or don't have to worry or like, you know, try to get more, it's just energy. Like if you're responsible, you can have any amount of energy you want. There's nothing wrong with that. And then try to be non-judgmental. Like I think a lot of people fall into this trap. Like they think about someone like Jeff Bezos or like Elon Musk to a lesser extent, but like, wow, they could just like alleviate so much suffering in the world that they gave away. First of all, it doesn't really work like that. Like their money isn't like tangible. It's usually in valuations, but that's the wrong approach if you're trying to bring in like wealth or abundance into your life, because you're judging who knows why they have that much money. They believe that this is how much they're supposed to be worth. They have a plan for it, most likely.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. Like that's not for you to like freak
paying
out
attention
about.
to how other people do things, why they do things. It's like you're creating, it's all projection, and then you're creating like a barrier between you being able to steer the ship of your own life.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Like it's so much easier to just focus on what you feel like you're capable of and deserving of, and like that sounds easy because everyone's like, "Well, I'm deserving of $1 billion." Probably not. You probably don't really feel like that. You may have a notion or an inkling, like you really will always feel like you have a shitload of money if you're really gonna have that show up like consistently. I know the feeling, which is why I talk about it. Like I know I made a lot of money doing this stuff. Like it's like almost like a future memory. That's the level of conviction I feel. It also that buffers you against a lot of emotional kind of like baggage that can come with like investing or doing any of this stuff. Just like have the certainty that you know what you're doing and you nailed it. Like you can even fuck up a lot. But that can be a precursor. We were talking before, like how many times do you think in our lives or anyone's life we're just like, you were just about to get that thing that was going to be life-changing, but you gave up like a step or two before. There's like that tunnel picture that they show, like, you know, it's like the person is right there from the thing that they want, but they gave up because it was too far. It's like, just have the conviction that you got there, that it's going to work out. Also, just because it shouldn't not work out. There is enough, by the way, like resources, everything.
It's
like,
about tapping into that idea.
But there is really like that. It has never been a resource problem in this planet. It's a distribution problem. That's like always been the case. Like you can say, well, you know, it's unsustainable over a certain amount of people. There's too many people, but not even. We're barely scratching the surface for that, like on this planet, let alone Mars or wherever else people want to go. But like,
well, I mean, that's a capitalist mindset. That's a scarcity mindset of that. Anytime I hear people say that we have an overpopulation problem, it's like, no, we don't. Do you realize all the people in this world could fit in Texas? Like, and that we have it's fine. We just got to slow down.
Could all the people in the world fit in Texas?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Even smaller.
But like smushed together?
No, in like the population density of like Hong Kong, which is like an island with 10 million people.
9 billion people?
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, we have plenty.
Let's all move to Texas.
But the thing is, like what you're saying, I love that term future memory, because a lot of times, like, our life is so out of control, crazy good that you have to stop and say, how did I get here? and send some chill back to the person who's trying to get there. Likewise, you can, right here in this moment, borrow some of that shit.
Totally.
Bring online that memory.
Totally.
That, the person who's sitting in financial abundance, be that guy now. And then watch the fucking shit just unfold for you.
But I think the hard part of that is it sounds like to a lot of people like magical thinking. I always try to think devil's. At this point, having talked about kind of like the power of imagination to where like I've made myself annoyed with myself about it. Like I get the counterpoint, which is like, well, that just sounds like crazy. If that worked for everyone would have it. It's like, yeah, it does, number one, but like most people have to get through the barrier of like this reality or what you're experiencing somehow discernibly being always objectively happening. Like there's this huge interplay between subjectivity and objectivity, and this is what I think a lot of conflict is about right now. And we're not going to talk about the vaccine stuff, but I see it played out in that through that lens and a lot of other ones, like this idea of like subjectivity versus objectivity. And I feel like objectivity has had like a very long, pretty good run in modern history. And subjectivity is, all right, listen, you're going to be in a reduced role, a reduced capacity for a little bit. This is going to be uncomfortable if you're a reasonable, rational, analytical person. But nevertheless, this is what's going on. And I think, people's relationships to money and other things are going to be like critical catalysts for this, because like how could they, that's where people's energy and attention and awareness is.
That's what our society is about. Like that's what we've made it. I just learned the other day that the word economy comes from a Greek word that means the way of life, and we've made it all about money, and this is what I realized in that K-hole. It like processing Bitcoin and everything. It's just like, oh, this is a new economy, and it's actually not even all about money. There's a lot of it is about being funny and generosity and compassion and trying to get people out of whatever cage they've locked themselves in financially. And I don't know, for me, it feels so refreshing because I know what I'm in opposition to, but it doesn't feel good to just be in opposition to things. Like you have to be for something. So it's just, it's nice to have this little gap filled, at least in my perspective. Like, I'm for this. I like this because it definitely stands in opposition to the thing I fucking hate. I know that.
Also, you pointed out something which is like it's really, really important, especially for people who have some degree of financial independence. The way your life changes when you have enough money for all of the things in your life, and then maybe even a little extra or a lot extra for other things that you might want. Things are different. You're not as stressed out. From coming from a family where people are arguing about money, like there's a lightness. At least you don't have to be a billionaire, a millionaire, but there is some levity that comes from that at least, unfortunately for a lot of people, you can't use that as an excuse anymore. Yeah. So then you really actually have to start focusing on, it's like, all right, I have time, I have money. And I think this is the phase that I think a lot of people, I've kind of gone through this phase, maybe not so much with the time thing, but like at times where it's like, shit, I don't got any excuse right now. Like, why am I not like busting my ass on that? And then like that's its own dance. Like that was not the time. That was most likely not the time. Like when things do align where you feel very productive, very creative, and you don't have to worry about money. You don't have to worry about time, and like wait for those things to like intertwine at the right time. But definitely don't let money be a stressor that dominates your life, which is like for most people, I don't say most people, but a lot of people, they're like, that's inconceivable.
Oh,
like how could I not?
They couldn't even hear what we're saying.
I remember this, and I'd be like, this person's fucking crazy. Like I have bills to pay. I have kids. I've got shit I gotta do. How dare they tell me I can?
Yeah. But I told you, this week after we did this mushroom thing, we encountered two friends, dear friends, who I didn't realize were carrying a chip on their shoulder, which they didn't have, and I didn't know why. And then I started asking, and they both fucking turned $2,500 into $100,000. And all of a sudden, it's like they're focusing on their art. They're focusing on other things. And to bring it back to relationship stuff, it's the same thing. It's like you have a friend that you're hanging out with, and maybe they haven't gotten laid in a year or two. And then all of a sudden, they start getting laid, and they're showing up as a different person. You're like, dude, I didn't even where were you? You disconnected. Because that's what financial insecurity will do to you.
Yeah, it'll make you
traumatic.
Disconnect, because then you're also social situations. Like I really enjoy paying for meals for people when we go out.
It's the best.
It's not a stunt. It's not a flex. I just really enjoy doing that. To someone who doesn't have like enough to even entertain that, that's an anxiety-ridden situation. How much am I going to have to pay? Do I have to feel bad because this person is paid for
the chicken?
And it's just like at that point, like you're adding so many layers of like anxiety and complexity, and it's like it is, as callous as it can sound, optional at this point.
Yeah.
It's just, and like if you before it was like, well, how am I going to do it? I have to start a business. I have to figure out a marketing thing. I got to get this. I got to have content. It's like, no, just buy these magic fucking beans.
Yeah. It's
all right that's
old
and
paradigm.
it is work. I'm not going to lie. Like,
you're
paying
learning
attention
stuff.
and making sure you're on top of stuff and following the market. Like, it is a job, you know, and it's one of the easier ones.
But you're working for yourself.
But you're working for yourself. Exactly. And also, what I love about it, what I'm excited about playing in this space is that I'm not going to trust anyone but myself. Like, I will hear it, but I will filter it through my own.
This is how you decolonize your life. You know, and this is one of the final steps is when you're not relying on the old masters to, you know, give you your little whatever. Like,
I like that. I also recently wrote a check for my business to myself as an employee, and the bank, because it was a new account with Chase, the money left my other bank. I watched it go bye-bye, and then they're like, hey, this money's going to be available in 10 days. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, this isn't, like, you could even tell me it's being processed by the other bank. They're like, yeah, sometimes we hold money because we want to make sure it won't get returned. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, the money came from a bank account.
Yeah.
It's insane. So I don't like that.
No.
I don't like any situation. I had an issue with Coinbase with that, sending some money somewhere where I had to be on top of it. But it puts the responsibility on you. But if you know what's going on, this just is going to get easier and easier. I will say, like, to your point before, Cass, like, do the thing that's one step harder. That's why I teach you the Binance chain, which in 2 months will probably be like old hat and completely not as useful as it was. But like,
take it a step
further than you want, because then you're a little bit earlier. If you give up, assume there's a whole bunch of other people who are ready to give up right at that point. If you go a little bit further, then you're going to be able to buy some of this stuff, or be in a community of people who are telling you to buy something that's like, okay, this is probably a good idea. And it's like annoying because sometimes this stuff is like, oh, I got to do what? I got to do that. It's got to do this. But like, just do it. It's not a big deal. No one's asking you to be a hacker. You don't have to like figure out like the dark web. It's just like, you know, copy and paste some shit and understand like basic fundamentals of how these things work, and you'll be all right.
Same as any art form. You know, because there's it feels like a steep barrier to entry to getting to be a successful artist.
You know, from guitar. Yeah.
That's what I was just about to equate it to. It's like, just take it a step further. Go. And like for me, that is playing with musicians that are way better than me, starting a band with them before I barely know how to fucking play this thing. All of a sudden, it's like...
But a lot of people start like that, too. They're just, like, forced into... They're like, here, play bass.
Yeah.
I don't have a bassist. Like, do it.
The Clash. They didn't even know how to play their instruments.
You should...
Figured it out.
There's a show on... I think it's Cinemax. I get it through Hulu. Mike Judge did this Tales from the Tour Bus.
Oh, I've seen some of those on YouTube.
Yeah, I saw them on TikTok, a few of them. But I paid for Cinemax for it. The second season is all funk. It's like Prince, James Brown...
Yeah. I saw
George
the James
Clinton.
Brown one.
Holy
when James Brown took Orange Sunshine.
Yeah.
Great
holy
fucking
shit.
story.
We did the moon.
Yeah.
Where he just hangs up. They're like, he said it was the new dance, and he just stood there like this for like 10, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's funny. That shit is cool too.
Yeah, for sure. I love that kind of shit. I definitely want to get into the world of merging like the documentary and podcast world, like really blurring that line. And we've done a couple podcasts that I feel like blur that line a little bit, but cinematically we could take it a little further. Like you're saying, just taking, like, we're doing podcasts. We've been doing them for fucking 6-7 years. Let's just, how do we take this a little further? How do we do the thing that no one would think to do? Even putting our thing on YouTube felt like a humongous step. We thought of that a year before we did it. Finally, the pandemic was just like, why aren't we doing this? We did it. And right away we're like, this is so much work, and already we're like, how are we not doing that? It just takes like a couple extra hours to edit this video and put it on there, and it's totally changed our world.
Yeah.
Just having that one added little extra element, taking it a little further. There's plenty of space to take it even much further.
Yeah,
So,
it's a good time to be doing stuff that you like to do. That's what it feels like to me. And don't feel pressure to have to do anything, but like I think it's great. Like I feel like as someone who, has put out regular stuff over the years now at this point, just being able to take a breather and recognizing that like you're not dependent even on an audience or whatever, but like you're good, that gives you a much more fertile ground for creating something. Like even very successful artists and people, like there's this delicate balance between like keeping your fans or people who know you for something happy and wanting to expand or grow as an artist and anything. So like we're in like a much more like nebulous world right now, and I think if you embrace that, like it's good. You don't have to do anything, just do the stuff that you want to do and trust that it'll kind of work out in the right way. And I think it does.
People are waking up to that. I feel like more people than ever are saying, I'm quitting my job.
I feel like that's true. I mean, if you turn 2,500 into 100K, then like, why wouldn't you, right?
Quit your job for a year at least.
I mean, what we're hearing is, my wife got pregnant and she's saying she wants to stay home for a little bit. And I feel like we're in a position to do that, Like the amount of freedom for their family and for,
It's weird how that's how things work. But I think it has to work like that because most people are not out there imagining doomsday scenarios like really are going to happen to them. At best, it's like a defense or like a hyper awareness of a possibility of things that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at it like what goes on like people aren't, it's not chaos out there. Like you could say it's chaos, is humanity, there's no point. On like a zoomed in level, like people are not stabbing each other all of the time, despite what you may see on the media. Like it's pretty chill.
Yeah, I mean, the media is just there to amplify our fears and keep us hooked, and it keeps us good consumers. But all they're peddling is the worst, most divisive stuff. Like a lot of boomers, like my parents, are glued to it, and they always got a story about us and them, and the bad guys and the good guys, and I'm like, that is so not. Life is so much more nuanced than to get caught on that very surface level of division. I mean, that's all the media is there to fucking push on us. It's fucking nasty business. You really like that. That is one of the ways of decolonizing your life. Is like, how do you get corporate media out of your life? How do you not become so programmed by all that stuff?
Yeah, no. It's definitely not the best. I don't know anymore. I don't pay attention to the news so much, just because I don't feel like I had the luxury of like tuning into that. But I know it's very addictive. It gives you something to focus on. There's always going to be some narrative for you to focus on.
But it always is conveniently something that you could never do anything about. It's always such a big thing that all you can do is sit there and watch. And
I do agree with that.
Well, like, what is really the news? Because in any time before this kind of modern media, the news would have been what the fuck went on around here. Maybe a 5-mile radius.
And it was always the same shit anyway. It was like, this person's a crime. This person, there's the nice story. This person's there's the weather. Like, it's a format.
It's simpler, more connected,
Well, yeah, because you can't really do anything about what the garden you can reach if you don't know what's going on in that garden.
Yeah.
You're only paying attention to the bigger story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm thinking about this guy got in trouble. I've told you I was watching all these Hamilton's pharmacopoeia stuff. This guy got in trouble for ordering the bark that makes DMT. Like somehow he ordered it from France and got engaged by Homeland Security, and they like stalked him for like a month and then busted him and put him in jail for like 10 years.
In American? This happened?
Yeah, and it was legal bark. And then like he pointed out when you guys were talking about community parks and stuff, like in the community park where he lived, they were growing that tree on like county property.
God.
Like, it's like
fucking ridiculous.
I think a lot of that stuff is ending. I think the psychedelics now, I think it's basically over. I think like you definitely aren't putting the genie back in the bottle, but more importantly, like no one. I think as the fear and anxiety of getting in trouble for it wanes, the incidences of people like needing to be like treated or go like or freaking out also goes down. Because that to me is any bad trip I've ever had is either about me feeling concerned about someone else knowing that I'm tripping and that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Or just like some deep internal like fear about
Yeah.
like what is going on.
What does this mean about me? Like having to deprogram all the like narratives of,
People's fear of pot, and then when people have a bad trip on pot, it usually has something to do with guilt and paranoia because this has been demonized their whole life. But it's like all pot does is just allow more consciousness to flood in.
That is what
it sacrifices its life for us to have more consciousness, and we made it illegal, and people get scared of that, and people get like scared of those heightened states of consciousness because they're illegal.
This is also a very unpopular opinion. I mean, it's been one I've shared for a while, that I do think that most of what paranoia is and the fear that comes up is just this subconscious, like deep stuff that like literally gets lifted to the threshold of your awareness. And if you're not used to dealing with those types of things, they can be overwhelming and gripping and terrifying. But if you are used to dealing with them, they can be quite useful. You'd be like, oh,
yeah,
that's what I was thinking about that. I remember being like a teenager being like, whoa, like I was really mad about that thing. And now I've thought about it like this, like, I guess I'm not as mad about it. Like, and not because I smoke weed and I'm like, oh man, everything's cool. It's like, oh, I got some additional perspective that I was incapable of gleaning while I was in that previous state.
Yeah, fuck.
Well, for me, I think about everything I need to do or the things I haven't done. But as long as I have like a pen and paper next to me.
Cass is a pen and paper type of tripper.
Do you have Virgo placements?
I don't really know.
Fuck.
No.
Virgo or Libra placements, I feel like. But yeah, I don't know. I like weed a lot. It's cool. It's legal now.
First legal 420 just went down in New York. It was fucking pretty lit. I had the biggest joint in all of New York City.
This is what you're traveling around with. There's no way it can't be. I mean,
it attracts people. It attracts the true potheads, because they're like, oh man, I need to have a hit off that. I just need to see how that fucking thing hits. It hits better than my regular joints.
It does hit really well. Yeah, weed is great. Well, we're financially free. We have legal weed. I would say things are working out pretty well so far.
Definitely. We're bringing this church to life. We're going to make Church of Chill like a physical place people can come. And that's why we're up here talking to you, because I'm like, oh, we need the money. $600,000 seems to be the number in my head. That
you need land.
You
need way more than 600. Are you crazy?
That just seems like the thing that would start putting some wind in our sails. Like, get out of this apartment in the city. Come on.
Oh yeah. To move, but like for a church and land and everything, you need like, I don't know, $2 million.
Oh yeah.
You're good to go.
Yeah. So we're putting it out there because it's just going to be a place that people can come and realize their creative potential, because that's what we're going to charge it up with. It's like, come here to finish your projects or start your projects or hold ceremony with us or just make new friends.
Definitely make a church.
Yeah, right?
Because then you can do drugs, I think.
We'd be protected to a certain degree.
Like the organic ones at least, right? Like mushrooms, ayahuasca.
Yeah, no one gets busted for ayahuasca. You never hear about that.
Who wants to go, like, fucking bust down a bunch of fucking people puking? And fucking, no one's signing up for that job. Yeah. And also, it's not usually the demographic that gets targeted in the war on drugs.
No. And people are careful. And, having just had a terrifying trip where things almost got completely out of control, and I felt like the cops were on the periphery.
You told me some of what happened, but, like, what were the most trying and challenging?
I mean, for me, the medicine was great. It was healing. I had the best trip. I got abducted by aliens. It was. I wanted the aliens.
See the aliens?
No, and this is what's crazy is when I thought, because I really wanted to get abducted by aliens, and someone told me, if you ever want to have alien communication, take Syrian rue and mushrooms together. We did it. We took way too much, but I was like, let's let the aliens come. And I imagined it coming from like out here, like in where I could see, but it was like 2 hours into it. All of a sudden I just felt it behind me. This alien spaceship just came and went over me. And it wasn't like the otherization of aliens. I was like, I was one. I was with them, and we were like chilling out, like, fuck yeah, this is what it's all about. They're like, we're here. Been here forever. Always. Been here before, been here forever.
I have always been here before.
Yeah, I have always been here before. It was
Yeah.
one of those moments. And so I was blissed out, like communicating with aliens, listening to this guy chant.
Meanwhile, crazy
Cass,
over here.
wild woman who's it was a very masculine energy, as Cass said, because it's three men who are serious and focused and chanting, and Cass, who is literally out of her mind screaming for rock and roll. And that's what was traumatizing to me, was there was no ability to communicate with Cass. She was completely offline in her own dimension. We've tripped so many times. We've taken so many things.
I was wondering about that, because you guys have done that, but that, yeah.
Yeah, this one was way different.
I entered a flat dimension, and so
Flat world?
Flat
Paper
world.
dimension.
The
You know
paper
about
dimension.
it. Denise has talked about that, I think.
She's talked about, yes, going down to flat and then one dimensional, which she didn't like.
I won't take you to the whole thing, but Sean's like trying to, he's like, Cass, if you've ever loved me, like just give me some sign of life.
Give me a sign. Squeeze my hand.
Just squeeze my hand. Just let me know you're with me. And meanwhile, I'm flat. I'm like, this is a joke. This is hilarious that he thinks that I could do anything right now. And it gets so bad that the guy who served us was like,
hit her with the water.
So Sean pours a bottle of water on my head. And
What does that feel like as a two-dimensional being?
I snapped out of it for 10 seconds.
For 10 seconds, she was like, what the fuck?
Like,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Thanks. I needed that. But it got so out of hand.
To flat
Right
world?
back
Right
to
back.
flat world.
And that's what was scary, because when you add the Syrian rue, the mushrooms, it lasted 12 hours. I've never tripped this long in my life or this hard. So it would just keep hitting in waves. And me and the guy that served were the only people that were with it, and the other two were completely out of their minds, which was it was terrifying, because they couldn't even
have to control.
They when someone can't remember that they took something and it's wearing off, and they're trying to do all this stuff, and this guy kept trying to leave.
I pulled a little DMT.
It was
you
that
grabbed
thing.
Your keys, Noah.
What you went through on DMT was we went through with this other dude for 3 hours. It was when you grabbed your keys and tried to leave here, and for freaking out. This guy was doing that for 3 hours on a 20-second loop. It was so scary, and just seeing. I mean, the guy that had us to his temple, he's incredible. He's a dear friend of ours and everything. It's immaculate, and he did the best fucking ceremony. But to see even him, it got freaking out, kind of what are we gonna do here? We're calling some guy's wife at 2 a.m. She's like, what's going on?
But it's kind of perfect. It was one of those new rebirths. I went through multiple deaths. I went through multiple lifetimes.
How long does 8 hours, 10 hours?
10 or 12.
What time of day did you start?
7 p.m. till 7 a.m. We were up at 7 in the morning, bouncing off the walls of this hotel room.
By 3 a.m. we had
in a hotel room.
Well, after the temple went completely off the rails, we just caught a cab back to where we had a hotel that night. Okay. So
the whole thing was, I was able to come to many moments and appreciate how beautiful even my death was. I was witnessing my death and accepting it.
What kind of witnessing of death?
Just accepting, oh, this is, wow.
This is it.
This is it, I've
been there.
And also having gone through so many deaths before that, of thinking, well, I'm forever in the paper dimension. I'm one of those people who, if I'm in some world,
feels forever.
Everything feels forever.
I know how that is.
Yeah. Cass went through, and similar to you, she went through very vividly a suicide thing, an addiction thing, being homeless thing, thinking,
you really go into those ways.
Going hungry, and then you're what it's doing is expanding your circle of compassion to include every hungry person in this moment. You're tapping into that, and you tapped into some crackhead who I believe is probably a real person.
I know.
That's what's trippy about all this. I feel like your portal just got diverted. And all of a sudden you were living in this, probably who is a real person living right now. And I wonder what her experience was when you entered.
That was that was part of it. The end of it, which I still think about, is I definitely think I experienced a version of my death at end of life. And it's okay, let go. But it was so docile and peaceful, but it was inappropriate for the state that I was in, because I'm not in end of life mind.
Yeah.
I'm no. And so that kind of reverberated. And still, if I get really whacked out and dissociate, I can come in contact with it. I'm wow. And it's fuck, because you do have access to the moment of your physical death, as a thing.
Yeah. Talk about future memory.
And when you're there, it's that one, that's maybe been the stickiest psychedelic like thing I've encountered so far, because it's like I can perceive it when I like lose my body enough, and I'm like, what is that? And if I move too close to it, it can become overwhelming, and like even like it is like a fear in some of, because it was so serene. It's like, yeah, it's okay. No, it's over. It's over. And I'm like, don't be so cool about it. Like, just can we freak out a little bit? Like,
yeah. Well, that was. I mean, I finally got to the place where I was like, oh, I have my loving partner, like, taking care of me. Like, this is the most, I'm watching someone else die where we're all, like, around him and, like, almost, like, felt like we were setting up for his burial. He was, like...
We're putting flowers on him. We're
like,
laying him down.
Completely... At this point, I had regathered myself where I could sit up, you know, cross-legged. And I was just like, wow, this is so beautiful. I'm dying watching someone else's death and accepting it, and my loving partner's here, and I became so grateful. And I was looking back on my life and just being like, fuck, I did it up, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like, I am about to enter the flip side of that coin of eternal damnation, because I had such a fucking great life. But I was like, I really don't want to live wishing it would be good again, which was really hard, because I was like, oh man, if I could just feel warm.
Well, you thought you were going to hell?
She goes there. She doesn't just think she's going there. She actually goes there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
two-dimensional hell.
You should have seen the measures that we were taking on every density to try to bring these two back. Like, literally, our boy is saying, because this thing started off with a ceremony where he's cracking coconuts and chanting and pouring them over this thing and rubbing this and pouring water and juice and yogurt and all this stuff. He's like, get the yogurt off the altar. And I'm like, what the fuck? He's pouring yogurt on this guy's head. It was so off the rails that, like, get the yogurt is going to be our new, like, someone's tripping too hard.
Yogurt.
Get the yogurt. Hide the knives and get the yogurt.
But I did, by the end of it, Noah, I had experienced, like, a few hours, maybe 6 hours of feeling like I couldn't need a thing in the world.
That's nice.
And I had never felt so free. I didn't need the clothes on my back. I didn't need shoes. I didn't need to be warm. I didn't need anything. Like, I had just come to a complete acceptance, which I was hoping it would last forever. But I'm trying to bring some of those, that feeling and just remembering the freedom I have without needing something, and how incredible it is, you know, because it is a choice, and it is an illusion thinking you need someone. I need them to do this. I need this. I need that, you know.
The dependency. That's where I think, like, the fear tends to come in, is like if there's a dependency on something.
And then it's going to get taken away.
It's going to get taken away. And I think that is, when you say 2D, I was remembering the DMT thing. I think that was pretty 2D. It was just so fast.
Mm-hmm.
God.
That's the problem.
So fucking fast. And I knew it beforehand. Wow.
Yeah, dude. That was a crazy moment for all of us. You know, like, even Mare was just saying yesterday, she was just like, that was fucking intense, man. She was just getting to know us. She's like, is this how y'all roll? Like, kinda, actually.
Kinda, yeah. But jeez Louise, I fucking was so whacked out.
Yeah, man, we talked to you 2 weeks later, and you were still trying to get your head screwed on straight.
Yeah, I was at that point.
Was a long integration.
It was a lot, because it was like, I think the feeling that I just described about the like finality, or like the calmness of, like, end of something, I think that was the theme, like a major resonant theme that I was ending up with. And it was, I think, just like a new feeling and idea that, like, I hadn't, like, processed in the right way.
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like coming out of it too. It literally felt like I couldn't get back to, like, baseline of how I feel. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to feel like a crazy person forever. And then, like, I slowly, like, it's like, oh, okay. And it started when I remembered how, like, appreciative and grateful I was to, like, be here, and, like, no, it was great. But yeah, that took me a little bit.
Well, are you coming back to a baseline, or did you establish a new one that you've now, like, that's how it felt for us all week. We were very sore this week because it felt like we upped our operating system, but the hardware needed a minute to kind of get used to it.
Yeah, it definitely felt like that for me, but it was just, like, almost sensory overload. Like, it was a shock to the system, because, like, I hadn't gone that far out ever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nothing even close.
That was pretty untethered.
Like, I was just, like, fucking through I couldn't identify it. There was no any sense of a being would have been like a distant impression or being overlaid onto like your and everyone else's in the room faces, which is a very different thing than like encountering like going into a room and like all these things. Like,
yeah.
You became a human puddle.
That's what it felt like.
I was like, whoa, we puddled Noah. Like, he's just become the 5-year-old version of himself. Like a little lost and confused boy, you know?
That's where I was. I had no ability to get my psychic bearings, which for me is like pretty remarkable. Like I can go really far out and still have like a vague notion of like me here, which I'm comfortable with leaving, but it was just being like whipsawed around. And then the K part of it, I think, is what really got
It made
me.
it last. And yeah, that's a crazy combination. I would be scared to try that combination.
I think it's fine if you do it intentionally.
Yeah.
I just don't think the way I did it, like K is always a little wonky. Like you don't know exactly where it's going to get you at any given point.
Yeah.
And so like you throw that in with like something that's going to just like blast you out of your consciousness. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you called for it, and I wouldn't have given it to you if I had any sense that it was going to go the way that it went, because like I'm Googling ahead of time and it's like, this was orgasmic, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Well, Noah's calling for this, and I guess it's the right time because other people love this combination, so let's do it.
wow. God.
Fuck, man.
Good times.
Yeah.
Crazy times.
Good times, USA.
Did we do it? How long have we done this?
An hour, 58 minutes.
Oh, man.
Perfect.
Nailed it.
Lovely. Lovely.
Look at that. Effortless.
We're going to do another one.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are.
We're going to do the Very Ape Podcast.
Yeah.
You know.
That'll be the
Chill.
second one.
Yeah.
We'll lead people into this.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks, Noah. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank
You're the
you.
fucking best. Peace, love, and magic.
Peace.
Driving through the forest, running at a time with my mind on my honey. I got money on my mind, money on the inside, money on the outside. Turn on water into wine, do it with your mind. Cosmic art flow, you already know. Big ass energy, kundalini grow. Flowing through your body, don't be afraid. Let yourself go and ride the wave. Driving through the forest, running at a time with my mind on my honey. I got money on my mind, money on the inside, money on the outside. Turn on water into wine, do it with your mind.
Hope you enjoyed the episode. Go check out part 2 on Very Ape Podcast. That should be out within a few hours of this one. They get it out pretty quickly. Good stuff there too. Patreon, you know about. The Discord, you know about. Anything you heard in this episode that you like, those are the places to go to get more. We do live streams on Twitch and YouTube and interactive questions and all the fun stuff you'd want to see. And here, that's it. That's it, guys. Just hang in there. Have a good time. Spring is coming if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. That's going to be a good time. Everything is good. Everything is really good. All right. Until the next time I see you, have a good time. Bye-bye.